Hey everybody, and welcome to my N5 series in the SP404 Mark II, where I cover a topic in about 5 minutes. Atari was asking over on my Discord server a question about sending Midi from the SP404 Mark II to an external device, and what's the difference between pads and sending like sequence Midi. And this one's something that can be a little complicated to show, but I think I can do this. I'm going to go shift into utility. I'm going to go to system, and we're just going to go look at the MIDI settings first that I've got set. So right now we've got sequence note out is off, which means any sequence that we play on the SP404 Mark II will not send any of the MIDI out. And the other thing we have is pad note out is set to on. So if I turn both of these off, then we're not going to send any MIDI data from the SP404 Mark II, or at least any MIDI note data from the SP404 Mark II out to an external device. And I can show you because I can play notes and nothing's happening. And because I have the MPC going into the external source in on the SP404 Mark II. I mean, I can play these. Let's turn the volume up a little. And if I turn external source off, nothing's happening. So let's go back into the utility menu. And if we go to pad note out and turn it on, we magically can now send MIDI. And this can be handy if you want to use your SP404 Mark II as a MIDI controller for an external device. The velocity's like a little low, but we can do that. And if I even want to go into system and change MIDI mode to B, then we can actually extend our note range by going through it. I'm not playing the lit up notes right now because they're going to play whatever the audio is on the SP404 Mark II as well, but you can see we can get like a, oops, you get a pretty big range. So it's going to be 5 times 16, what's that, 80 notes, I think, if I did the math real quick in my head. So you can get a pretty good range. And if you don't have anything, like if you, well, I got stuff on these other banks, but you can really play quite a bit. So that's cool. But because if you remember, we had set it so that we don't send MIDI notes for patterns right now. So we can go record a pattern, and I don't know, I'll turn quantize on, doesn't really matter. I can hit record, and let's go to bank G. Now it's not playing anything, A, because I got external sources off. So I'll turn that on. We're sending our external source MIDI note, which this always is like something that drives me nuts. I wish there was an option to turn this off. But anyway, we're actually sending MIDI notes now over, but it's not sending them because we have a problem. We had turned off. Oh, did I just exit out? That's a bummer. Anyway, let's go shift utility back into system. If we go sequence note out and turn that on, let's turn pad note off. And you'll see when I play, it's not going to play any notes initially. And then when we loop over, it will play them. So let's record a pattern again. Oh, we got to turn the external source on. Why is it not sending the MIDI over? Did we? Oh, right. This is the other problem. I forgot. You have to actually have a note recorded of silence. Otherwise, it won't record it into the pattern view. I'm sorry, everybody. We're going to do this real quick. We just record a bunch of empty samples with nothing on them because you can't record a event that doesn't have an associated sample to it. And I completely forgot that while I was in the moment, even though I know that. So you're going to see you can do this, but it just requires work to set things up. All right, we're almost done. We'll just use this. All right, so this gets us set up. We're still not sending the notes over. There's nothing actually recorded here. Record, record. And well, they're pretty low. Maybe I can hit them a little bit harder. And the problem is it's also playing this note from an external source. So yeah, you can do this. It's not the best way to do it. It can be a little annoying because if you want to actually send over a pattern sequence, you have to have content on the pads, even if it's an empty sample. But it does work. But I would say, I think the SP404 Mark II functions a little bit better as a MIDI controller and not as much, and is not as great as a MIDI sequencer. Anyway, everybody, thanks for stopping by. Keep making music, keep having fun. Remember, if it sounds good, it is good, and peace.